Hey everybody, welcome back to another draft analysis for NCPL's Commander Draft. We're on number 19 and we're going to be looking at Sean's team today. So overall, I scored Sean's team of 40. He has a really strong team. First, starting off, we have he drafted Venusaur as his captain, Torkoal, Sigilyph, Quagsire, Electros, Mega Odino, Monferno, Sableye, and Basculin. So obviously the first thing that's present to mind is that Sun and Chlorophyll Sweeper. So, but I scored his offense an 8. So the reason that his offense isn't a 10, even though the Sun and Venusaur is so strong, it is really hard to navigate around that when you're playing. That double speed is just so hard to deal with. Plus, not to mention Venusaur's coverage is basically everything that he needs to cover, especially with hidden power available in this draft. So, but the reason that it's not a 10 is once you get outside of that Sun and once you can play around it, or you have something to actually just deal with it and stop Sean from sending it out right away, his offense is a little bit weaker. Now you have Calm Mind, Cosmic Power, Sword Power, Sigilyph. You have Coil on Electros. You have Calm Mind on Mega Odino. You have Monferno, who's got great coverage and is offensive, and then you have Basculin as well, who hits very hard with adaptability, access to Mold Breaker. But out of those Pokemon, the only one that I'm gonna say that is actually useful to that Sun and helping Venusaur clean up, which is what Venusaur wants to do in terms of sweeping, is Basculin. Basculin's going to want to flip turn, chip everything down. Venusaur is going to come in later or middle stages of the game, and he's going to kind of clean up kills here and there when he can pick them up. So, if not, just outright sweep you. So, Monferno's not going to do the greatest job at that. While Monferno is not a bad Pokemon in this draft, his stats just aren't screaming wall breaker. And yes, he can chip things down, and that's good. But the thing is these guys aren't going to be taking hits. Electros and Basculin kind of do this job better than Monferno. That's why we're not seeing Monferno as much. We're seeing Electros a lot more. But just to read Monferno's stats here, if I can ever get this to come up. Yeah, so a Jolly Monferno is at 255 attack. With the Iron Fist, he's going to be hitting a little bit harder, but it's not that high, right? So, although he has really strong stabs in Flare Blitz and Close Combat, which really help bring that up, Monferno's not taking a hit unless he's running Eviolite, which is very viable on him. So, but you understand what I mean? Like, once you kind of get outside of that, and Venusaur doesn't really have a way to get in, or things aren't chipped down, then that's where you're going to see this offense struggle a bit in terms of, dealing with bulky teams. So that is where that score is coming from. But in terms of offensive mons, of course, we have Venusaur, Sigilyph, Electros, Monferno, and Basculin. Now, his Mega Odino, his Quagsire, his Torkoal, and his Sableye can all be offensive. But that is not their forte on this type of team, especially mons like Mega Odino, who kind of want to wish pass into Torkoal, make sure Torkoal stays healthy, Sigilyph potentially, and Venusaur if Venusaur is coming in earlier than needed, just to deal some damage or try and deal with some big threats. And then you have Sableye, who's there to, prankster, Will-O-Wisp, taunt, basically be annoying, but Sableye does have access to Calm Mind and Nasty Plot as well, so Mega Odino having access to Calm Mind as well too, and Quagsire having decent coverage, but generally not like an attack Pokemon. So Venusaur having go to my notes. Venusaur being able to be physical and special is also a really awesome thing about him being captain. He can come every single game. There's no problem with it. Sun can come, no problem, every single game. Nobody drafted like another. I guess, yeah. I think there's sand in the sword. Yeah, Sand by Vic. Is it? Was it Vic or? Yeah, Vic having Gigalith and Stellan. So those are that's the only person that's going to be really annoying Sean, which they've already played anyways. But other than that, Sun has no problem coming every single game. But that Venusaur being able to be physical or special is super important. Having Body Slam, Curse, Earth Power, Earthquake, Giga Drain, Power Whip, Knockoff, Growth, which in the Sun gives him ×2 in both special attack and attack, I believe. Leech Seed. Venusaur does have access to screens as well. Outrage, Sludge Bomb, Sleep Powder, Swords Dance if you're not trying to do the growth in your full physical set. You can guarantee that ×2. Synthesis, Toxic, and then Weather Ball. Weather Ball is what made Venusaur the king of Sun Sweeping. Having access to Weather Ball, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, and Giga Drain is just insane coverage. And then having a 100 base fire move to stop other grass or steel types from coming in and basically walling you and firing back a one-hit KO. Weather Ball boosted in the Sun as well. So very strong Pokemon, very good captain. But next on the list for offensive Pokemon, I will mention Torkoal. He can be offensive, but Torkoal needs to come defensively to make sure that Venusaur comes offensively. Which I think is the strongest point to Sean's team, is that Venusaur being offensive. You can run Shell Smash on Torkoal, and Torkoal does have really good offensive options actually, being Body Press, Earth Power, Earthquake, Eruption, Explosion, Lava Plume, Iron Defense, Body Press, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Overheat, Gyro Ball, and then Rapid Spin, Rock Slide, Scorching Sands, Sludge Bomb, Superpower, and then he can spam Weather Ball no problem since he's setting up Drought anyways. So a decent Pokemon if you don't need the Rapid Spin, you got Defog on somebody else, or you're not concerned with rocks, you can run 3 attack Stealth Rocks, and he's gonna be pretty annoying to deal with since he's got pretty good coverage and being able to be physical or special. So not a bad Pokemon. And of course we have the Nightmare, Sigilyph. Cosmic Power, Sword Power has to be one of the most annoying combos in the game, paired with its ability Magic Guard. So Sigilyph does also have Tinted Lens. Well, I feel like that's going to be used a lot less since Magic Guard is super awesome in Draft. Not having to worry about rocks is really nice, especially as a flying type Pokemon. But Sigilyph having that Cosmic Power, Calm Mind, Stored Power, which I told you about already, and in another person's draft, it having access to Air Slash, Dark Pulse, Dazzling Gleam, Energy Ball, Psychic, Psyshock, Heat Wave, Reliable Recovery and Roost, Shadow Ball, and then basically what makes the setup set so good as well is Sigilyph can run Psycho Shift with Flame Orb, and burn anybody incoming trying to deal damage if it's a Calm Mindset, or just hopefully trying to break Sigilyph before he gets too out of hand. You can just Psycho Shift that, burn the Pokemon, and then basically useless. So very, very annoying Pokemon, very good offensive utility-based Pokemon. Has quite a bit of coverage as well. Specs is totally an option. Life Orb, especially with Magic Guard, is an extremely good option on it as well. So after Sigilyph, we have a relatively tame Pokemon in Electros. One of my favorite, actually, Pokemon to draft, despite me not drafting it this time around. Electros having physical or special attacks, and its ability Levitate, giving it 0 weaknesses as an electric type. But let me go through its moves here. So yeah, in my notes I just said refer to Showdown because it just Electros has coverage for everything. Acrobatics, Aqua Tail, Brick Break, Coil, Crunch, Discharge, Dragon Claw, Dragon Pulse, Dragon Tail, Drain Punch, Fire Punch, Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Giga Drain, Grass Knot, Hidden Power, Knockoff, Rock Slide, Super Fang, Super Power, Thunderbolt, Thunder Punch, Volt Switch, Thunder Wave, U-Turn, and then the other one was Acid Spray. Now that one's not talked about too much, but I did utilize that a lot in the previous draft. It was, I think, for incoming fairies that are going to be really specially invested, or just anything that's specially invested. It lowers the special defense by 2. It's a poison move. It's probably the only thing that Electros doesn't cover really well is fairy types, besides having that flash cannon. But yeah, so you can see what the Electros has here. The recommended set is the Assault Vest set, since he's not going to be setting anything up. Coil is totally an option, although I do feel like Electros is best used as a slow Volt Switch / U-Turn to get in an offensive Pokemon and continue chipping down the team, especially when you have a Wish Passer in Mega Odino. It's very, very effective. So, but Coil definitely still good. I just think the Dragon Tail, knockoff, Volt Switch / U-Turn, and then whatever coverage move you need, usually just run Discharge or something like that, is great. But Electros does have defensive options as well, which I will mention if you don't want to run an Assault Vest. I will mention that in the defensive category. Moving on, we have Mega Odino, which I mentioned has a calm mindset, and Mega Odino actually has insane coverage. So if this team had a little bit more if this team had another defensive Pokemon to lean on that wasn't pivotal like Torkoal and was bulky, like Electros kind of can do this, but it might allow Mega Odino to come as an offensive threat, since it actually does have good offensive options. But that Wish Passing and that being able to switch in Mega Odino and deal absorb an attack and figure out what to switch into next is super good. I mean, switch into Mega Odino, Wish, switch into Basculin, he takes damage, wishes back up, he flip turns, you continue rinse and repeat, and you chip down an opponent. But for Mega Odino's offensive options, sorry, I keep rambling on here, but you have Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Grass Knot, Knockoff, Psychic, Psyshock, Shadow Ball, Surf, Thunderbolt, and then Trick Room. Now, it just sounds average, but what I will mention is kind of like Mega Altaria. Mega Odino has access to Refresh, I believe. Yeah, okay, I did write it down. Now, why run Refresh when Mega Odino has Heal Bell? Well, Heal Bell only has 8 PP, so you can easily PP stall a Heal Bell out. It's happened to me before. It's very annoying, as I forgot that Heal Bell or Aromatherapy has quite low PP. So Refresh having 32, and it heals status on you. It doesn't heal status for your team, but okay, what makes this really good is you have Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, Refresh, and then you could run Wish for some recovery, but Draining Kiss is going to do a great job of that as well. So you see Mega Altaria is a little bit better at it because Mega Altaria is faster, it has Roost, but still viable. I mean, Mega Odino has extreme defenses. I think it's 126 in both. Yeah, 126 defense, 126 special defense, 103 HP, and then base 80 special attack, which is not bad. So you can run 252 HP and 252 special attack, putting you at, if you go modest, putting you at 284. So one Calm Mind is great. That puts you in a good range to be offensive if you can only set up one at a time. But Mega Odino has the bulk to be able to set up multiple before it needs to recover. Draining Kiss is going to definitely help it recover. Having Stab with that is also really, really good. So definitely a set I hope to see. Sean is going to probably be in playoffs, I imagine. So I'm thinking we'll see something like that, since playoffs is going to be a really extreme prep for these players that are going to be in playoffs, really needing to mix it up and make sure their opponent isn't calling out exactly what they're bringing. So hope to see that refresh, calm mind, draining kiss, wish set. Very good, very underrated, probably overlooked. But next up on the list we have Monferno, which I mentioned. Has great coverage. So Monferno having access to Iron Fist really helps it out, allowing it to run EV Light if it wants. And then it has really strong stabs in Flare Blitz and Close Combat, both 120. Now their added effects are not the greatest, but Monferno is fast enough to be able to send one of those or fire one of those off and U-turn out. But its coverage goes from Fire Blast, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, Bulk Up, Fake Out, Gunk Shot, Nasty Plot, Mock Punch, Poison Jab, Rock Slide, Sword Dance, Thunder Punch, U-Turn, Aerial Ace, Dual Chop, and Vacuum Wave. And then of course we have sorry, my headphones are dying. And then of course we have Hidden Power. So another good thing about this Monferno is it can be special or physical. Now I don't think it's okay, it's the same basically. It's basically the same as Infernip, except its stats are a little bit weaker. So having base 78 attack and base 78 special attack, it can easily run either special or physical, making it very hard to prep for. But like I said, those defenses and typing are making it a little bit hard to come to the match, since Torkoal is weak to the ground as well as Monferno, and then you kind of get into this team building issue here where Basculin and Electros are going to do what Monferno does better, unless you need a fighting type to come to the matchup, because that fire type is easily covered by Torkoal and even Venusaur, and even Electros, or Mega Audino. I mean, they all have fire moves, so. And then Electros and Basculin both having flip turn, Volt Switch, or U-turn, so just kind of making that Monferno a little bit less useful. But great coverage on Monferno. If he comes to a match, he can probably cover almost anything. And then we have last on the offensive list I will mention is Basculin. Basculin being an awesome draft pick, still low on the tier list. I don't know why. I think it's still tier 5. Yeah, still tier 5. Should be at least tier 4. This thing is just an absolute monster with 328 speed and 283 attack in Jolly, plus adaptability, and then you either have Life Orb or Band, which just make it absolutely insane, especially in this type of draft. Banded Flip Turn or Life Orb Flip Turn with adaptability really hurts, so resist it or not. But one thing here, I'll mention Basculin's coverage first, but I do have something to mention about Basculin before we move on. So Basculin having Mold Breaker and adaptability, you're generally going to see adaptability unless you're worried about a Water Absorber, which we have seen that before. But having Aqua Jet, Flip Turn, Hydro Pump, Head Smash, Ice Fang, Psychic Fang, Scald, Superpower, Zen Headbutt. Chip Away is an interesting option as well. There's been a lot of Iron Defense and Cosmic Power setters. Chip Away is a great option. I hope Sean is listening, since there are so many people that like to run their Iron Defense or Cosmic Power. Definitely a good option to have as a get out of jail free card. And then you have Scale Shot. So the thing that I want to mention with Basculin here is something that I picked up when I was playing Jared is everybody runs Basculin physical, but the thing is Basculin gets adaptability, and it has access to Hydro Pump, so, and its special attack is not bad. So you put Basculin in Timid Nature, and you put 252 into special attack, that's 259 in Timid. So an adaptability Hydro Pump specs will absolutely obliterate half the cast. I mean, unless it's water absorb or heavily special invested and resisted. That hydro pump is going to really hurt. And Jared picked up on that after we versed, having a very heavy physical team. He then ran Basculin as a special attacker, which Basculin is totally good at because he can just run flip turn as a momentum booster and a chipping move, and then he can have hydro pump as a wall breaker, which is what you want Basculin to do. And I think it actually does more damage than a liquidation bandit. So who do we go to? Let's just pick Registeel. Registeel. We'll do choice specs, hydro pump. So a choice specs hydro pump. We'll do. Where is it? We'll do naive nature. That way we don't lower our attack, and our attack is still 220, which is high, with adaptability to allow us to run hydro pump and flip turn. So hydro pump hitting Registeel, a fully special defense, full HP Registeel, 38 to 45. Now I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot to a Registeel and to be a resisted move. So that's really strong. Let's go to Venusaur. Venusaur is obviously gonna KO us, but I mean, 43 to 50%. So that's still hitting extremely hard. Now, if we go to the physical side of Basculin here, and we go choice band, so I think it was 38 to 45 is what it was, the hydro pump. So we're gonna go liquidation, choice band. Liquidation 32 to 39, and that's not defensive invested Registeel. So you go defensive invested Registeel, impish nature. That liquidation does 25 to 30. So that hydro pump is going to be blowing big holes into teams. I really recommend that set to people that have Basculin. It just, especially for Sean's team, Basculin, yes, it wants to chip things down with that flip turn, and I totally think that's viable, but Basculin also can blow huge holes into teams on Pokemon that are kind of switching to Basculin either for free or because its liquidation might not be doing enough, or this Venusaur check is lingering around. You can hydro pump and blow a big hole in that and allow Venusaur to potentially sweep a team or get rid of that threat that's being annoying to the team. So won't hang around too much on that, but I do recommend that set for people who have Basculin. Very good. So next we have the defense, which I scored a 9. Sorry, 23. I scored a 9. So his team has a lot of defensive options, and I think in my opinion, a little bit too many defensive options. I think this team wanted some good defensive cornerstones, and then it wanted some really good momentum, chipping and wall breaking to allow that Venusaur to get that guaranteed sweep, clean up every single time. Now he has done this by picking up Electros, I believe for... Was it Electro or was it Basculin? Yeah, it was Basculin, sorry. You dropped Ninjas for Basculin, so he definitely recognizes this. I think he just needs to maybe go that extra step and get a couple more. Since he has, as defensive options, he has Torkoal, Sigilyph, Quagsire, Electros, Megalodino, Sableye. I mean, that's a lot of defensive options. Yes, it means he can run them offensively if he wants, but they don't perform the same as an actual offensive Pokemon, barring Sigilyph, who's just like can be both and really good at both. So we have Torkoal here, which is generally going to be coming defensively. Really good can come as a special defensive set as well. Since it has really high defense, you can afford to run it, those EVs in special defense if you need to. But Torkoal having access to, go to my thing here, Clear Smog, Rapid Spin, Scorching Sands, Stealth Rock, Will-O-Wisp, and Yawn. Really, really good defensive options. And then, of course, you have Iron Defense Body Press, which is extremely annoying and obnoxious to deal with, especially when you have 416 max defense. That Body Press is going to be smacking. But a really reliable Rapid Spinner and Rock Setter, also setting up Sun for potentially the rest of the team, but most likely the Venusaur here. So very good defensive Pokemon, good cornerstone to the team, very pivotal to this team's success as well. The Scorching Sands is a great option as well, giving Torkoal 2 options to potentially burn you off of Lava Plume or Scorching Sands, or just allow Torkoal to run a beefier fire attack for damage, and then Scorching Sands for that burn, allowing him to either run Eruption or Fire Blast or Overheat, or Heat Wave, or Weather Ball probably being the best option in my opinion. Just base 100, you won't miss it. It's going to be boosted by the sun anyways as well. You're always going to be able to do it, use it, because Torkoal sets up Drought on his own. So moving down the list, we have Sigilyph as well. Sigilyph having access to Defog and Magic Art is a really great option. Very reliable defogger for the team here. The only defogger on the team, or I don't think, I know some fighting types get defog for whatever reason. I just want to double check if Monferno did. No, Monferno didn't get it. So he only has Defog and Rapid Spin on the Sigilyph and Torkoal. But the Rapid Spin on Torkoal allows Sigilyph to not have to run Defog if it doesn't want to. But so Sigilyph having the Defog and then Psycho Shift in either Toxic Orb or Flame Orb, very, very good, and bypasses things like Magic Bounce. And just very obnoxious, very hard to switch into. If you're sending in a physical type to, potentially revenge kill or KO this Sigilyph, you got to worry about that burn and what type of set this is, how many EVs are in defense and HP if you're going to KO it, or you're going to get burned potentially. So other good options on it are Whirlwind to stop some sweeps, Thunder Wave, and Future Sight, and Trick. Tailwind also being an option, and then Roost being a reliable recovery. But I'm surprised I don't see as much Future Sight from players who have access to it. Such a good move, forcing people to switch, hits really hard. And a lot of people forget about it, including myself, since there is no tab on Showdown saying Future Sight is up. It's going to be coming in blah 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 turn. Very, very hard to deal with sometimes. So Sigilyph, one of his best mons on the team. Moving down the list, we have Quagsire, Unaware, Water Absorb, very standard. If the opponent is a setup heavy opponent, Unaware is definitely going to be coming in either special defensive or defensive, probably with a Rindo Berry to make sure there's no hidden power grass. It's going to Oko that Quagsire. But Quagsire also having could have sworn Quagsire has access to Stealth Rock too. Am I skipping things in my notes? No, Quagsire. Weird. Anyways, Quagsire having access to reliable recovery in Recover, Counter, Curse, Scald, Toxic, Stockpile, and then Haze and Encore as its defensive options. So a good Pokemon to have. In draft, you kind of deter people from setting up with physical types more times than not over special types. But you deter them to set up. Having a Water Absorber is good, and the ability to Toxic things or Haze or Encore is good as well. So Do I think this is his best defensive option? No, but it is going to help him with that rock and ground weakness that he has with Torkoal there. If he brings him, he can easily switch in with Quagsire, no problem. So, and I've already mentioned Electros being a pseudo offensive defensive Pokemon, utility Pokemon, but its defensive options. Go to Showdown here. Does have. Is it? No. Where was it? Does have Toxic and T-Wave, and there was something that I seen in here that I liked as a defensive option. I can't find it now, but yeah, Electros having access to Toxic, T-Wave, and Roar, and Super Fang as well are good defensive options if you're heavily invested into defense or special defense, and you're not going to be hitting very hard. Super Fang is a really reliable option, although that is it 90? At 90% has bit some people in the butt. But like I said, Electros is really great as a pseudo offensive defensive utility Pokemon, getting in that slow U-turn or Volt Switch, absorbing attacks since it's got no weaknesses and it has pretty good stats all around the board, 85 HP, 80 defense, and 80 special defense. And then it hits relatively hard with 115 attack and 105 special attack. So, and then of course we have Mega Audino, one of the other cornerstones in terms of defense, in my opinion, having Wish, Heal Bell, Refresh, Knockoff, Pain Split, Magic Coat if it needs it. By the way, guys, Magic Coat has a priority, so it's not a bad option. But T-Wave, Toxic as well, and then Yawn and Wish support. So very good defensive Pokemon. That's really kind of what it is for Mega Audino. It's what you see is what you get, really. Defensively, there isn't too much options to mix it up. Misty Terrain is an option if you really don't want your team to be statused, including Audino, and you need to weaken Dragon for whatever reason, even though you have a Dragon immunity. But the Misty Terrain is an option to make sure your whole team can't be status. So, yeah, not much more to say about this Audino here. Access to both screens. Oh, that was where Healing Wish is a really good option on it as well. A last ditch effort if your Venusaur's weaken, burn, T-Wave, whatever it is, you can Healing Wish it off if you really need it. If this is you're in a playoff match, you need that X factor, that last ditch effort. Healing Wish is totally an option since Mega Audino can just run Wish, Protect, Healing Wish, Dazzling Gleam if you don't need the Heal Bell. You have Sigilyph here who can deal with status. You have Torkoal to make sure burns don't happen. You have Electros to make sure T-Waves don't happen. And you have Venusaur that makes sure he's not toxic or toxic spikes don't stay up on the field. So he has ways to deal with status. He's not forced to run Heal Bell every single match. So, and then you have Sableye. Everybody knows what Sableye does. Prankster, Will-O-Wisp, Foul Play, Fake Out, Knockoff, Nightshade, Poltergeist, new move for it. Pretty good. Taunt, Toxic, things like that. Really just generally being annoying. Just an annoying Pokemon to deal with. You basically got to have a wall breaker to a specially invested wall breaker to deal with Sableye with potentially a fairy move. As again, it gets that Prankster Will-O-Wisp, which is extremely annoying. Encore is an option as well, and then of course I mentioned its offensive options, which really can catch some people off guard, especially having access to Nasty Plot. Definitely catch some people off guard since Nasty Plot at base 65. We'll just say he puts in enough EVs to hit 400. That'd be 136. The rest go into HP and defense with Will-O-Wisp. You Nasty Plot, you get to 400. It's gonna be hitting decently hard. So, but But Basculin, not really any defensive options that you want to run with it, especially on this type of team. So we're going to move on to speed. So speed I rated an 8. I just want to write this down. 438. Speed I scored an 8. So yes, he has Sun, and Sun doubles Venusaur speed, but it doubles just Venusaur speed. While that is really strong, once you kind of get out of that, you have Sigilyph at 317. Where is it? Or is it 328? 322. Sigilyph at 322, Monferno at 280, Basculin at 328, I think. 324, sorry, I'm off on everything here. Of course, you have T-Wave on multiple mons here to have some sort of speed control, but outside of those mons, not all of them really want to be fully speed invested. Sigilyph and Monferno might not want to be fully speed invested. They might need the EVs in other places to do what they want to do, but the team is kind of a little bit below average in speed. Outside of those two that I just mentioned, 3 that I just mentioned, yeah, more like 2, because Monferno at 280 is not that high. So you have Torkoal, Quagsire, Electros, Mega Odino, and Sableye, all very slow Pokemon. So something hard to deal with this team would be very fast momentum, flip turning, volt turning, U-turning, that sort of thing. He only has 1 immunity to electric, and of course no immunity to U-turn, and 1 immunity to flip turn. So if a fast team comes in and starts doing this, and Sun is not up, Sean may have a harder time dealing with that difference in speed. As for, say, somebody like Matthew's team, or I think it was Laurel's team, who's quite fast as well. Those are teams who are just going to naturally outspeed basically the entire team based on their natural speed. So although all of that negativity, Sun is so strong, and Sean has proved that in basically all of his games. Sun is just such a force, especially with the Pokemon that has the coverage that Venusaur has. That's why this speed is still an 8 and not any lower, despite Sean having quite slow Pokemon. That Sun is extremely potent and extremely hard to deal with, and can definitely net a win at any point in the game. So, yeah, viable 8. As I said, though, he does have speed control options in T-Wave, basically on every single mon, except Quagsire, I believe, and Monferno and Basculin. Not basically on every single mon. He has T-Wave on Sableye, Mega Odino, Electros, and I don't think Sigilyph has it. But anyways, we're going to go on to hazards here, which is a 7. So as I mentioned earlier, he only has 2 forms of hazard removal in Rapid Spin on Torkoal and Defog on Sigilyph. Both very reliable, that's why this is still a 7. He has Rocks with Torkoal, and that's Torkoal and Monferno, and that's it. So very little hazard and hazard control. Hazards could be quite annoying for Sean, although Venusaur doesn't really care for hazards, and Heavy Duty Boots is almost always going to be on Torkoal. I can see it not being the biggest deal, but when Sean is facing a team that is able to deal with Venusaur and make it stay put away for quite a long time, those rocks are going to get annoying. And then, you have the potential to people set up screens, since Sigilyph is your defogger, and you might not bring Sigilyph with defog. So screen's a very scary option for this team, since Brick Break is the only other option to deal with screens and defog on Sigilyph. Very, very scary to think about hazards on this team. So those rocks, though, are going to help that Venusaur chipping down the team, getting those switches, and with Sean's really defensive Pokemon here, he can definitely keep switching out, forcing the opponent to switch and rack up that rock damage, or that U-turn, Volt Switch, flip turn damage. So, and I didn't write down the hazards. Last but not least, we have Momentum. Momentum, he scored an 8, so he does have forms of momentum in Volt Switch U-turn on Electros, U-turn on Monferno, and flip turn on Basculin here. And then the other form of momentum is setup Sigilyph and Sun Sweeping Venusaur here. So this momentum is really highly scored off of that Venusaur, since once he comes out and the sun's set up, you know it's go time. You know there's going to be a Mon that's going to go down, or it's going to be, the team's going to be heavily broken into. It changes the entire pace of the match once that Venusaur gets out under the sun. The opponent is either forced to switch and take a huge amount of damage, or risk being set up on with Growth or Swords Dance. And Venusaur not being able to be toxic, very, very hard to deal with. T-Wave is basically the only option to deal with this Pokemon, and even then, under the sun, he's still very, very fast since his double speed, and he's hitting around 500. So very, very strong in terms of momentum for that Venusaur. But aside from that, the momentum is based off of the flip turning and Volt Switch / U-turn for the Electros here, getting in Pokemon for free or chipping down the opponent for his offensive options like Sigilyph or Venusaur to come in and clean up or set up on. So yeah, overall though, it's not a heavy momentum team. It's really heavily based off of chipping down a team and letting that Venusaur come in for free later on in the match, and hopefully scoring a sweep, revenge killing, that sort of thing. So one thing I do want to mention is, everybody was like, even myself was like, oh my god, Sean's team is broken. Son, I still think Venusaur is extremely broken in this draft. I do think though that Sean could have drafted a couple different Pokemon around this to make this team absolutely busted. Not to say this draft is bad by any means. I scored it a 40. I just think there's a couple options on his team that kind of overlap, that could be utilized in a different way. Quagsire, I always find people draft this Pokemon. Even myself, I think about drafting it all the time. And then it's just never as useful, and you always got to worry about that Hidden Power Grass or Grass Knot or Energy Ball, which in this point in time, basically everybody has Grass Knot and Energy Ball. It's almost like a detriment to bring. You always got to have that Rindo Berry, or you got to at least think about that grass move coming in. And then, of course, his defenses really aren't that strong. So if there's going to be any trades, I would think that the Quagsire might go, and potentially the Monferno or the Sableye here, since Sableye really slows down his team's momentum, like really badly in my opinion. Yes, it does have Prankster and it can be annoying, but I just think for this type of team, it wants to be going, it wants to be chipping, it wants to be U-turning and Volt Switching, and I think if you draft more Pokemon like that, or Wall Breakers that can go in and just kamikaze, just, like Bouffalant, Head Charge, just, start beating holes into teams. Those are the things that this team wants, in my opinion. I can see Sableye being like a safety net though. That Prankster, just make sure, if there's a physical threat that's kind of getting out of hand, you got that Prankster Will-O-Wisp or you Prankster Taunt. I understand that. The other thing too is not affected by dark types, our dark types are not affected by Prankster. Prankster Will-O-Wisp moves that affect the Pokemon. So as for what I would trade, I'm not really sure. That's something I didn't actually look into. But I do think more offensive options, because he's got good defensive options with Torkoal, Sigilyph, Electros, Mega Adino. He doesn't really need Quagsire and Sableye. The Quagsire, I can see why. The Water Absorb is nice, but he has ground immunity and Sigilyph. That Drought is going to lower the damage on water attacks. He has Mega Adino to soak up attacks if it needs to. I think Quagsire is actually is it? Yeah, Quagsire is a T4. That I really think this should be a trade. Quickly before I close up here, I just want to look through the Pokemon that are available in Sword. You could definitely get rid of Quagsire, trade in Hitmonlee for that fighting type, trade out Monferno for something. I don't think Hitmonlee has U-turn though. But it would be another Rapid Spinner, which would be nice. It would be a fighting type. Yeah, he doesn't get U-turn. What else do we have available here? You have Yanmega sitting there as well. Yes, it's another rock weakness. But Sigilyph doesn't worry about rocks. Torkoal is going to be having heavy duty boots. You could have Durant with first impression. What else we have here? You have Galarian Articuno. I mean, I guess you have Sigilyph, so. Aggron would be a really interesting option for this team. Yes, you would be buffing fire attacks against him, but very good wall breaker for the team. Persian A is also a really great option. Getting that parting shot and U-turn, giving him a dark type as well, since there is that worry about Venusaur and psychic types. That dark type switch is really nice. Rhyperior is a really actually great option for this team. I'm thinking about it now. Weakness policy, drought up. He's weakening water. And a very interesting option for this team. So, but I won't stay on that too long. I think the couple trades could make this team a little bit better. But Sean is a great player. He knows what he's doing. Probably being patient, see if he gets into playoffs and make his trades according to what he thinks he's going to need. So, because I think this will be. Oh wait, was this the last week? Anyways, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you guys have been enjoying them. I'm sorry for the schedule being a little bit up and down. Just my work has been busy, but we'll see you guys on number 20.